Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is thinking about you. Nobody is watching your every move. And that might sound harsh, but it's the most powerful realization you can have, because most people spend their entire lives waiting for approval, waiting for validation, waiting for someone to notice them. But the truth is, no one is paying that much attention. People are too busy thinking about their own problems, their own insecurities, their own lives. And once you truly understand that, something changes. The pressure disappears. The fear of judgment fades, and suddenly you're free. And the moment you accept that, you stop performing. You stop trying to impress. You stop trying to be perfect, because there's no audience, no spotlight, no one keeping a score. And that's when something powerful happens. You become real, you act without filters, you move without fear. Because the truth is, most people are not thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves, their own image, their own fears, their own insecurities. And once you see that clearly, you stop holding back, you stop waiting, you stop hesitating, and you finally start doing. And that's when you start noticing something strange. The things you were afraid of don't actually happen. No one laughs, no one points, no one stops their day to analyze your decisions, because they're too focused on their own lives. And all that pressure you felt before was never real. It was created in your mind, built from assumptions, from past experiences, from fear. And once you see that clearly, you start letting go of the need to be perfect, of the need to be liked, of the need to be understood, because none of that moves your life forward. Action does. And most people never reach this point. They keep living inside that pressure, trying to be accepted, trying to be understood, trying to fit into expectations that were never theirs. And because of that, they never truly explore what they're capable of. They never test their limits. They never take real risks. Not because they lack potential, but because they're afraid of being seen trying and failing. But when you remove that fear, when you stop imagining an audience that doesn't exist, you unlock something rare, the ability to move freely, to act without hesitation, to live without constantly looking over your shoulder, and that changes everything. But before that realization comes the struggle, the constant feeling of being watched, being judged, being evaluated. You hesitate to act, you overthink simple decisions. You hold yourself back, not because you can't move forward, but because you're afraid of what people might think. So you stay quiet, you stay small, you stay stuck, all because of an illusion that people are paying attention to you, but they're not in the way you think. Most people don't remember what you said yesterday. They don't notice your small mistakes. They don't care about your attempts because they're too busy dealing with their own lives. And that realization shouldn't scare you. It should liberate you. And this fear is what keeps people average, not lack of talent, not lack of intelligence, but fear of being judged, fear of being seen failing, fear of looking stupid. So instead of trying, they wait. Instead of acting, they overthink. Instead of moving forward, they stay exactly where they are, comfortable but stuck. And the worst part is, they convince themselves that this is normal, that everyone feels this way, that it's just how life is. But it's not. It's a mental prison, and most people never escape it, not because they can't, but because they never question it. And the longer you stay in that state, the harder it becomes to leave, because comfort is addictive. Even when it's limiting you, even when it's holding you back, you start telling yourself stories that now is not the right time, that you need to be more prepared, that you need to feel more confident. But confidence doesn't come before action. It comes after you try, after you fail, after you learn. But if you never start, you never build it. And that's how people lose years of their lives, waiting for something that only comes through movement. And what makes this even more dangerous is that it feels safe. It feels like you're protecting yourself, avoiding embarrassment, avoiding failure, avoiding discomfort. But in reality, you're avoiding growth, because growth lives on the other side of discomfort. And every time you choose safety, you reinforce the same patterns, you strengthen the same fears, you stay in the same place, and over time, that becomes your reality, not because it had to be, but because you never challenged it. Because when you stop caring about being judged, you start acting, you take risks, you try things, you fail, and most importantly, you learn. You stop waiting for permission, you stop asking for approval, you stop seeking validation, and you start building quietly, consistently, without needing anyone to notice. And that's where the real power is, because while everyone else is hesitating, you're moving. While everyone else is overthinking, you're executing. And over time, that creates a gap between those who act and those who wait. Because once you break that pattern, you realize something else. Progress doesn't require permission. Growth doesn't require approval. And success doesn't wait for validation. It only responds to action. And action is uncomfortable at first because you're not used to it. You're used to thinking, planning, waiting, but action is different. It forces you to face reality, to confront your limits, to step into uncertainty. And that's where most people stop. But if you keep going, if you keep moving despite the discomfort, you start building momentum. And momentum changes everything. And once you build that momentum, you start seeing results in places you didn't expect. Small wins, small improvements, small changes in the way you think. And those small changes begin to reshape your reality. You become more decisive, more focused, more intentional, because now you're not guessing anymore. You're acting, and action creates clarity, not the other way around. And that clarity becomes your advantage, because while others are still confused, you already know your next move. And this is where most people fall behind, not because they're incapable, but because they hesitate. They wait too long, they think too much. They analyze every possible outcome until they convince themselves not to act at all. But progress doesn't reward perfection. It rewards movement. It rewards those who are willing to take imperfect action, to learn as they go, to adjust along the way. And over time, those small, imperfect steps create results that most people never reach because they never started. Nobody caring about you is not a disadvantage. It's your greatest advantage because it gives you something rare: freedom. Freedom to try, freedom to fail, freedom to grow without pressure, without expectations, without fear. And if you use that freedom correctly, you can build something most people never will because they're too busy worrying, too busy watching, too busy waiting, while you are moving forward step by step, day by day, building something real. So stop waiting Stop overthinking, stop caring so much. Because the moment you realize nobody's watching is the moment you finally start living. And over time, that momentum compounds. Small actions turn into results. Results turn into confidence. Confidence turns into clarity. And clarity changes your entire life because now you're not guessing anymore. You're not waiting anymore. You're not asking for approval anymore. You're building quietly, consistently, without needing attention, without needing recognition. And that's the difference, because while most people are still waiting, you're already ahead. Not because you're better, but because you started. And in the end, that's all that ever mattered. And that's why this realization is so powerful, because it removes the illusion that you're being watched, the illusion that you need permission, the illusion that you need to wait. You don't. You never did. You just believed you did. And that belief is what kept you stuck. But now you see it. Now you understand it. And once you understand it, you can't go back. You either move forward or you stay where you are. But at least now, it's your choice. And once you accept this reality, you stop playing small. You stop holding yourself back. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. Because you realize there's no perfect moment. There's only now, only action, only movement. And everything you want, everything you're capable of building depends on what you do next. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now. Because in the end, the difference between those who stay stuck and those who move forward is simple. One group waits, the other acts, and now you know which one you need to become.